45 minutes, okay, guys? and there's less changes going on in South Carolina than there was with all the North Carolina forms, so I think we'll be better off with the timing of everything. Hello, everybody on the Zoom. Or Google Meet. Taylor's going to be recording this just like we recorded yesterday's meeting so that we will be able to send this out to everybody. I'm going to go ahead and start screen sharing with you guys. And I just have to check what this is. Okay, I'm going to make that bigger for you guys. And actually, before we get started, I just do want to point out to everybody that's not here in person with us that we do have some representatives from Motivation Mortgage here today. Actually, a newer face, because I don't think you've been to anything yet, Cam. Okay, great. So we do have Cam McSorley, right? I'm saying that correctly, here with us today. Cam, do you want to share anything with us about, you might have to come up here and talk so that the recording picks it up. Yeah, sorry.
What, just a fun fact about me?
Fun facts about Cam.
Okay.
And they can see you.
All right. Hi, everyone in the virtual space. So my name is Cameron McSorley. I've been in lending for about 6 years, been with Motivation Mortgage since last year. We're doing some really great stuff. Super excited to be here. Not really a lot of interesting stuff about me, but I am expecting my first child in October, so that's really cool. And I'm just here to help out, answer any questions. So want to make sure at least get my cell phone out to everybody. So in case you need anything, feel free to reach out. But just super excited to be here. Yeah. Oh, and yes, we do have an event next Thursday. It is going to be a couple of people sharing on YouTube, help to capture some online leads. Again, we can all get a little bit more leads here, and it's going to be great. So hope you guys can come. Also, just so everyone is aware too, we are also doing a Brokers Open tomorrow between 12 and 2 in Ballantyne Country Club. So we'd love to see more people there. So feel free to stop by.
Is that like posted on y'all's social media and everything? So
yep, just posted on my story, you guys. Mandy, and our homepage too.
Yeah, we would love to have some agents attend that. Thank you, Cam. Okay, guys, well, we are going to get right into South Carolina form changes. The first thing I want to discuss as far as South Carolina goes is many of our agents here at the firm are dually licensed in both North and South Carolina. Some of us call North Carolina our home state, and we do business in South Carolina. Some of us live in South Carolina, but then do business in North Carolina. By show of hands, I guess here, maybe you guys can do it on the Google Meet as well. Who has a license in South Carolina, but is also a South Carolina realtor? So a member of the South Carolina Realtors Association. So Kristen, Rachel, Elaine, not Rodrigo. Okay. And the only reason I bring that to your attention is because you guys can see I'm here in our SkySlope forms. You can be a licensed South Carolina agent, but you will not get these South Carolina forms in your SkySlope unless you are a South Carolina realtor.
Oh, I got.
Then you probably are a South Carolina realtor. Okay. Yeah, that's just how these libraries work. If you're not paying them the dues, they don't let you access the forms. That doesn't mean you can't use the forms. You're just not going to be able to get them in this neat, tidy format. You'll probably be filling them out on some other platform. So that's just something I wanted to point out. If you are interested, and there's lots of benefits to being a South Carolina realtor, just like there is to being a North Carolina realtor. You have access to their legal team, their legal hotline. They have a website with tons of information about all these forms. They have a YouTube channel explaining the forms and other things going on in South Carolina. So, you know, it's $160 a year to be a member. You can call them and ask them questions. Like, it's really money well spent if you're going to be doing business in South Carolina. Not a requirement, but just a really good thing to do. So we're going to get into this. So I hope that, is everybody on the Zoom able to see my screen? Are we doing okay there?
Yes.
I think you can, right? Okay. Thank you. And at the end of each form, I will see if you guys in the Google have any questions. I'm going to try my best to answer them with, forms changes and the intricacies of these forms. Sometimes I might have to seek outside counsel to get you a very specific answer, but I'm going to do my very best. These changes are new to me as well, but I've been doing some research. So we're going to go through and we're going to start. I kind of thought we would organize them from forms you would use first in a transaction, moving on to forms you would use later on in a transaction. The first one we're going to start with is the exclusive right to buy buyer agency contract. So I did highlight here the things that have changed or they've reworded. So the first section that they've changed is section 3 in the buyer agency. And this is just not that big of a change, really. There's not a date anymore for the beginning of the buyer's agency. There's really just a date for the end of the buyer's agency. That would be if you terminated your buyer's agency with that client or if you closed on the property. Those would just be the reasons this would end. In the prior one, I think they had a beginning date, but they just got rid of that because the beginning date is when this is signed by everybody. And obviously termination form 220, or not termination, but a release from this agreement would be form 255. And that's how you would basically break up with a buyer if you guys agreed you weren't going to work together anymore. Okay, scrolling on down. Oh, a lot of these changes obviously have to do with compensation and the continuing conversations that go on around compensation. It's been about a year since we had this training last year, and you'll see a lot of the things that they were telling us we couldn't do last year. Now they've basically said the opposite this year because this compensation conversation just keeps kind of changing as we figure out this new, buyer's agency that the whole country is dealing with. We're kind of used to buyer's agency, but not everybody is. So it's getting a little bit easier. It's getting, I think, a bit more transparent than it was last year. So section 7 is in reference to the broker fee. So they used to have like an A, B, or C option in this section. And now they've just given you the options of the percentage, a flat dollar amount, or other. I'm interested in knowing what other would be. Would that be like a vacation at my beach house, or, like what are the other kinds of compensations we can receive? I'm not really sure, but there is an option for that. Now they have added this bonuses section. So this has not been here before. And this would be the occasion that you would use the bonuses would be if you're working with a buyer that has approached you and knows that they want to purchase in a specific, let's say, neighborhood, let's say new construction, because as we've been seeing out there, they are coming back with bonuses and offerings like that with new construction now. So you do have to disclose that to your buyer that you're receiving that bonus. The only time you would really know about that ahead of time is if they specifically were kind of communicating to you, this is the only neighborhood I want to buy in, and they're offering bonuses, or there's a particular property they're interested in and the seller's offering some sort of bonus. That would be the time that you would fill this out. But let's say you guys are house hunting, they eventually do find a house, it does have a bonus. You're going to have to come back and amend this buyer's agency to indicate to that buyer that you are receiving that bonus. Everything that you're getting has to be communicated to your buyer. Okay? So they've added that in here. We've got the good old retainer fee that some of us do take advantage of. Administrative fee. I wanted to point out here, you guys, we have some agents here that do charge their buyers and sellers an administrative fee. And that's totally up to you if you want to do that, because we do charge you a transaction fee. So if you want to pass some of the cost of that transaction fee onto your client, if that's how you want to structure your business, you can do that. You can do that here. in the buyer's agency. It doesn't have to be your whole transaction fee. It could be a portion of it or whatever you feel like you want to put in your business. It could be zero. It's just totally up to you. And we do have some agents that do that. And then they did add in section 7 a protection period. I don't think that was there before. So they put in a protection period there for you. So you're protected. You could, go after your compensation if you do bring the buyer to a property that they end up purchasing and they try to cut you out. Hello. I didn't highlight this section. Sorry about that. But they are mentioning here other buyers. So, there's actually a form called Form 140, Multiple Buyers Disclosure. And this is where you would disclose to your client, your buyer client, that you may have other buyers, clients, interested in the same property that they're interested in. So that's indicating to them that you are working with another client on that same property. And you do need to disclose that to them. And you do need to explain to them you can't favor one or the other. You can't tell that one client something about the other client or what their offer is or any of those terms of the offer. You're simply working those two people completely separate, but you do have to disclose to those people that you have multiple clients interested in that property. So there's a form for that in South Carolina. South Carolina has a lot of nifty forms for very specific situations. So thanks, South Carolina. And that's basically all the changes on the buyer agency. Yep. Oh, and I did just include this form in here for you guys to see it. It is the release from the buyer agency agreement that's mentioned up at the top. If you ever need to use this with a buyer, it's a 1-page form. And then here's that multiple buyers disclosure form. And that is Form 140. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to the contract to buy and sell real estate. Not as many changes on this one as there was in North Carolina, but some. And a lot of these changes come from the questions that we call and ask all the time. So another reason to call that hotline with burning questions is it helps them develop the forms to be more useful for us, FYI. Okay, we're going to go down to section 6. Again, we're talking more about transaction costs, fees, compensations, things like that. So they've kind of reworded this section to actually acknowledge the compensation that buyer's agents are receiving. Remember last year when we were having this training, they were like, don't mention compensation in the contract. Don't attach the compensation agreements to the contract. Don't even put them in the same email. Now they've brought it back into the contract. So this is why we have to pay attention every year to the changes, because sometimes things do change pretty drastically. And in this section, it's just building clarity around how seller paid closing costs can sometimes be used to pay buyer broker fees, compensation. Okay, so there's a section here where you can kind of break that down. The seller will pay these transaction fees, and this portion of it can go towards broker compensation, but not any more than this portion. So you're kind of just like putting the seller paid closing costs into certain buckets. Is it covering closing costs or is it covering our compensation? And so that's really defined now in this section. Just making sure.
Allison,
If you guys,
quick question.
Yes. Who's talking to me? Hold on.
This is Brittany.
Oh, hey, Brittany.
Question with that. If we are getting our compensation paid that way in the contract, do we still have to do the form, what is it, 120 for South Carolina or 220?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm getting to form 220. There's change, or 120. There's changes with that too.
Okay.
Okay. It's actually 2 forms now. So that got a little bit more complicated. But there is a seller paid compensation form and a brokerage paid compensation form. So we're going to talk about that at the end. But yes, in interest, when we're talking about compensation, just disclose it in as many places as you can. You can't go wrong with putting it in multiple places. You can go wrong with not mentioning it anywhere. So it might seem like overkill, Brittany, but yeah, we got to do it. Okay. And then also the seller has the option here to not allow any of those closing costs to cover our compensation. Okay, section 8, due diligence. So no real changes to this section, but just really a better explanation of when due diligence termination fees are owed. Okay. The termination fee is only paid by a buyer if they terminate the contract during the due diligence period for any reason, or repairs, or they change their mind about the house. Okay. Those are the reasons they would have to pay that fee, because they're not being able to come to an agreement with the seller about the condition of the home, or renegotiating the price, or closing costs, or anything like that. They just can't come to an agreement, and they choose not to move forward. And to take that option, they have to pay the termination fee. Okay. But the termination fee is not used if some contingency falls through. Okay. If a financing contingency makes it not happen, then they don't have to pay the fee. If it's an appraisal contingency that keeps the contract from moving forward, they do not have to pay the fee. It's only when a buyer is using that option to opt out of the contract. Okay. So that was just something that people were really confused about. And so they just rewrote this whole section so that it's more clear what that fee is for and when it's owed. And it really outlines it here with these, like, by the end of the due diligence period, the buyer must either accept the property and move forward, negotiate the repairs and having everybody signed off on it, agree to remedies via attorney drafted or approved verbiage in Form 390, or terminate. And that's when they would have to pay that fee. Okay. The next, oh, that was crazy. The next section that they updated was 25. We're going on down to 25. Another compensation section. So they just aligned it to be more like other states where we are mentioning we're bringing that compensation conversation back into the contract. And they're talking about Form 120 and how it needs to be attached. And they're just calling it out a little bit more now. And then they have changed this itemized attachments section 26. They've listed just about every kind of contingency form, addendum that you might need to use as an attachment to your contract. So let's make sure that anything that we're attaching here is either a South Carolina form or it is something that's been drawn up by an attorney. Okay, let's not make our own attachments to the contract. Oh, and this was kind of interesting, section 27, about notice, buyer and seller notice, addresses, email addresses, things like that. When you're delivering terminations and things of this nature, you need to deliver it to the notice on record that's in this contract. So that's why it's really important to fill out down here the buyer's notice address or email address or fax number. Don't do fax number, but and the seller's notice address, email, fax number. And that can be the broker's email address. You can be the address of notice, but these people need to be notified appropriately via that address when you're delivering important documents. It's not considered received until it's received by that address. And especially for the seller, it's good to include their mailing address, because if a buyer is terminating the contract and does need to mail a check to them, that's the address it would need to go to. In all, I don't think mailing checks is great, but if you can find some other way to get that termination fee to a seller, I think that would be preferable. But, you know, in some instances, it would be a mailed check. And that is pretty much everything for the actual contract. And I will point out that they did remove the whole home warranty section of the contract because that is now a new addendum. So I guess it made the contract a little bit shorter, but it's not, you know, obviously not everybody is utilizing a home warranty, but actually who's providing lunch today, for those of you that are not here, is going to be Martinez, which is our representative with a home warranty company. So he's going to be talking a little bit about that at the end of my part here. So he'll be here about 11:45. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the compensation agreement. Oh, I didn't include the warranty page in here. Let me add that for you guys so we can look at that real quick. Let me add you in that warranty. There it is. I thought I had added that. Let's take a look at that real quick. See what they're asking us. Okay, so it's just pretty simple. It's the name of the home warranty company, who is ordering this home warranty, and when are they ordering it? Is it the responsibility of the buyer? Is it the responsibility of the seller? Is it the buyer broker that's ordering it? Or is it the listing broker? How much are they willing to cover, and who's paying for it? Is it the buyer, the seller, the buyer's broker, or listing broker? There's been times where I've paid for that warranty, and I'm sure some of you guys have as well. So we'll all have the option to pay for that here. Buyer broker disclosure of possible administrative compensation. I don't know about you guys, but I've never gotten any money from a warranty company. Has anybody here ever received any compensation for that? And technically you're not allowed. You have, Elaine? Long time ago. They're not really doing that anymore. And technically, if you read this section, you're not really allowed to just receive a referral fee for you know, working a warranty into a deal, but you are able to receive a referral fee for your administrative overseeing of that addition of the warranty. So the ordering it, the filling out the paperwork, you're allowed to receive a referral fee for that, but not actually, you know, selling that warranty to that client. Technicalities, but you can still receive the fee, and it is listed here on this page, and then buyers and sellers sign. So that's a pretty simple one. Okay, so the compensation agreement, Form 120, has now been split into two forms. Form 120 LB to BB, which is listing broker to buying broker. And then we've got Form 120 S to BB, which is seller to buyer's broker. And these two forms exist because it's depending on who's paying you the compensation. Is it the listing company that's offering the compensation, or is it the actual seller themselves offering the compensation? I agree. This is, again, just kind of like a semantics thing, because I don't know about you guys, but every time I see compensation on the CD, it's just a seller charge. It's never charged to the brokerage. But I don't know why they decided to split it into two. This, I think, makes it a little bit more confusing, but that's what they've decided to do. So we just have to. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because on the buyer's agency, we can go back up to that one real quick to talk about the breakdown of the compensation. Or I'm sorry, we don't have the listing agreement in here. Right. Right. That's not happening.
So should we, regardless of what our listing agreement says, just do the seller to the broker so it's not running through us?
It's never going to run through us is the thing about this. I think you should just make it match whatever you put in the listing, because the listing agreement does have a section where, like, you could put all, let's say 6%. You could put all 6% in listing brokerage is offered 6% by the seller. Now, you as the listing broker are going to be given permission by the seller to offer a portion of that to the buyer's agent.
I thought it still had
You choose. You have to choose. Is it, are you putting all 6% under seller, or are you breaking it out between seller and?
It's like 6 and then a little bit later. So just-
We can look at that form if you guys want to, just to
Yeah,
see how
when
these.
would we ever do that? I mean, we would never really do that, right? I've never heard of all of the commission going to the listing agent and then the listing agent takes some of the money and gives it to the buyer's agent. Why wouldn't you just split it up like it has it on the contract, on the listing agreement?
Yeah. Well, that's how it is in in the North Carolina listing agreement, you put the total that the seller is paying, and then you break it out who's getting what.
Right.
So let's pull up the listing agreement for South Carolina, just to remind ourselves how they're wording it in there, because there weren't any changes to the listing agreement. So
No, because I just filled one out yesterday and I didn't see that any changes in it. So not unless the changes haven't taken effect yet.
no, they would have if because they do them all at the same time. Listing agreement. Let's add this one. Yes.
I asked Jill about that yesterday.
Jill?
Sellers doing, paying that
Mm-hmm.
listing part of it. Firm, he said it puts firm.
Okay. Let's see what it says here. Exclusive right to sell listing agreement. Got the owners, the timing, consent to dual agency, terms. Okay. Broker agrees to employ broker's best efforts. Here's the price. In return, owner agrees to pay broker. That's your listing firm, the broker, a total fee of a dollar amount or a total commission of blank percent of the gross sales price, or a total commission of blank percent of amount calculated by blank. If broker, owner, another broker, or any other person or company produces a buyer who is ready, willing, and able to purchase the property on the terms described above, or any other terms acceptable to owner and broker agree, there shall be no variation or exception in the amount of the fee or commission to be paid. Well, this is where it would come into play, like if you get an unrepresented buyer, or you choose to do dual agency representing or not representing both sides, you would still collect that full commission on this line. That's what it's saying here. Okay, no matter who's helping the person on the other side. The brokerage fee shall be
So
earned.
you would put 6% up there then, instead of 3 up there and then 3 on the next page, you know, on the buyer's one, on the next page?
Yeah, section 3.
Right here. Yeah, that's where
Right.
we would normally put the 3 in. So do we put 6 up there and then 3 here?
Yes, you would put, because that's the total that they're paying. Up at the top is the total that they're paying. And then in section 3, you're breaking out, are you going to offer other brokers, buyer brokers, a compensation? They have the choice in section 3 to not authorize the listing broker to offer any compensation to other brokerages. But you also have the option to break out a portion of that part you put in the top to offer other agents. Does that make sense? See here, it says owner authorizes listing broker to offer to compensate other brokerages in the following amounts. So they're giving you permission to advertise that offering of compensation. That's what they're doing here. Or you can choose, because you can only choose one of these, buyer's agency, a percentage of the gross sales price. That's where the seller would actually be paying. You see what the difference is? It's either the brokerage is offering it or the seller is saying, I know this doesn't really make sense. It's all coming from the seller, but this is just, I think, the way they have to structure it because of everything that's gone on with compensation. But I think best practice, Michelle, would be to put the total that the seller is going to expect to be owed or owing at the closing in section 2.
Okay.
And then in section 3, you're going to break out a portion of that to offer to the buyer's agents.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. So back to that other form, or the 2 forms, which look very much the same. So just pick whichever form matches your listing agreement. Okay.
We only have to see one, right?
Yes, you only have to fill out one of these. And this form is only applicable to the buyer agent that's involved in the transaction. So this isn't like a blanket form that you would give out to anybody. This is signed between the listing broker and the buyer broker, and it only applies to those two parties. Like section 4 here says, the offer of compensation made in section 5 is binding on the parties to this agreement only. If the seller and the buyer named in section 3, so whoever's the buyer's name here, it has to be your buyer, are under an executed and ratified contract. So this form only counts if you have a contract for sale with this seller. And then it's telling again exactly what this buyer broker is going to receive in section 5.
And we probably 99%, we're gonna choose the SPPU.
The seller.
The seller, of course,
Right.
probably 99% or maybe.
But again, we as listing brokers can offer compensation if our seller acknowledges that we can. Either form, I think, would work. I'm having trouble understanding the different nuances of like the seller. Yeah. I think that's why they did it, split it out maybe because nobody could figure out which box to check. I think either of these forms would get the job done. This one is just the seller to buyer's broker, and it's all saying the same thing, except this one is signed by the seller themselves and the buyer's broker. So it's just different people signing the form. So yeah, I guess this is kind of like the biggest change in my eyes of everything we talked about, but it's still achieving the same purpose of what this one form 120 was doing last year. So
It's not the sign this now.
the what?
It's not at the bottom. It's not the buyers that are signing it.
Okay, anytime in South Carolina, guys, when it says broker in charge or authorized associate, you are an authorized associate. You can sign these forms. You do not have to send them to Andrea. Yeah. So don't worry about that. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or things they want to discuss about these forms? Or are you more confused now than you were before? Maybe with that form 120.
Exactly. We can email you in the same email now.
Yes.
Sending over like 4 or 5 attachments or 6 attachments.
Yeah. Christina's asking, can you have the compensation form in the same email, in the same envelope as your offer to purchase? And yes, you can. They explicitly said that. You don't have to keep it separate anymore. Maybe we'll eventually get back to putting it in the MLS. I don't know. Yes, Rachel. Okay. Okay.
So going back,
The listing agreement.
so for example, broker agrees to employ broker best efforts, then you're putting the dollars on the phone, then owner agrees to pay broker a total of a fee that's a dollar amount or a total commission. So you put 6% there. So I get that.
Or 4 or 5 or 5.5 or 5.25 or whatever. Yeah, whatever's negotiated.
And then next line are very-
I guess I didn't add that form to the. Read me the lines, Rachel.
So then you have for a total commission of 5%, gross sales price or total commission of blank percentage of the amount calculated by.
Yeah, that would be, so you wouldn't fill that part out if you're calculating the commission based on some other number, like a base price, or you're just using some other number to calculate the commission. If you're only using the sales price of the home to calculate the commission, you would not fill anything out on those blanks there. It's just extra. It's another way that you can come to a commission amount, but I don't know, what people are putting in that line. I don't know if it's like new construction, the base price of it or something like that. But you wouldn't use that.
And then the section that correlates that to
Yes. Which is similar to how it works in the North Carolina listing agreement too. I think it's maybe a little bit clearer in the North Carolina one, but apparently this is the same as last year, so they haven't changed anything here. Maybe next year this will get overhauled. Anybody else have any questions? I hope Martinez is going to be here soon. He said he'd be here 11:45. Oh, you know Martinez? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Or anything else anybody wants to discuss? We're going to send these recordings, both the North Carolina one from yesterday and then the South Carolina one today. We're going to send them out in an email to everybody so that you can watch these at your convenience. I know it's so fun. But both North Carolina and South Carolina realtors do have excellent YouTube channels with short little videos that go over these forms. I think last year they actually did one long video for all the forms changes, but this year they broke them out into shorter videos, which is a little bit nicer. And I'm checking the chat. Oh, sorry, I wasn't checking the chat, guys. Oh, Swan is still confused. Swan, are you confused about the listing agreement? She might not be here anymore.
It's just which compensation form to use, but I think you said you could use either.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all coming from the seller. I mean, I think the purpose of these forms is just so the buyers understand who's paying their compensation, how many different people it's coming from. You know, your buyer could be paying some of your compensation. The seller could be paying some of your compensation. It could be coming from different places or both places. And that's what they want the buyers to understand. And even in the listing agreement, it explicitly says, hey, Martinez is coming, that the seller needs to understand that when they are paying a buyer's broker, they're paying the buyer's broker to help the buyer, who is not them. You know, they're paying our brokerage on paper to help the buyer's broker. So there's just a lot of changes every year I think are going to be coming with the way they explain this compensation stuff. Robin said she uses the other section in buyer agency form.
Yeah, I use it. I use it actually in both. I use it for if there's an unrepresented seller. So I add, I usually add, like if I'm charging 3% to the buyer, I'll do 4% for an unrepresented seller.
Oh, okay.
Because obviously you're doing a lot more work, so.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, Robin. Thanks for pointing that out. Hey, Martinez, why don't you let Mandy handle that and you come on over here because it's your turn. Because I don't want you to lose the people on our Google Meet. I'm gonna stop sharing.
I'm curious. Did you want me to talk more about First American?
Yes, of course. We didn't discuss you at all because I was waiting for you to get here.
Of course. Oh, hey, how's everyone doing? I'm like, all right. Well, I am Martinez Livingston with First American Home Warranty. So I run the Carolinas, so both North and South Carolina for us. So I like to keep stuff simple, and I'll go in the car and grab some brochures and give them to you so you guys have them. There's probably also still some over there. Should be. Yeah, it should be. I'll check. I know, goodness. But I like to keep it simple. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself, what you can expect when you work with me, and then some stuff that we're doing that can help both your buyers and your sellers. So first things first, a little bit about me. I've been with First American now going on 2 years. And I recently just got both like upstate. So I cover Greenville, Spartanburg area, Columbia, South Carolina, Charlotte, and Charleston. So like literally if you know anybody needing a home warranty anywhere in the Carolinas, I'm your go-to person. My 2 big words, I like to keep it super, super simple. My 2 big words is availability, reliability. And I work with some people in here already. So, you know, like if you call me, I answer the phone. If you email me, you get a response within 15, 20, like max 30 minutes if I'm like doing something like this. The other side of that availability piece is I tell all of my agents to give your clients my direct number. The reason why I say that, because I don't ever want y'all to be stuck like in between a bad claim and like your client. You shouldn't have to be the middle person there. So like, I always love asking this. Who's ever experienced like a positive home warranty experience personally or with your client? Anybody? Anybody ever experienced a negative experience personally or with your client? You see, that's why I asked that question, right? Because I think we all can agree that like home warranty isn't perfect. It is not a perfect product. And sometimes a claim takes a little longer than we want it to. Sometimes our contractors are a little bit of a headache, and you do have to loop me in, right? And so like, when I say I'm super honest and transparent, I'm probably the only home warranty rep that'll come in here and like straight up tell you like every claim is not going to be perfect. So that's why I say like I'm always available. Call me if your clients have an issue, but your client should be able to call me directly. I want them to be able to call me directly if they have an issue if a claim is taking longer. And then the second piece is reliability. So there's a lot that we do that I think actually gives us a good product so that I don't have to take a lot of those calls. So first, all of our products start on day one, and we don't require any inspection report. So that's a really big thing. So we're never like, oh, you just closed on the home, something breaks in a week or the day after, let me see the inspection report to make sure it wasn't broke. We don't do that sort of thing. If it breaks the day after they close, call us up, we'll fix it. The other thing, no 30-day holding periods. So some other companies do have 30-day holding periods, which of course we don't. So there is no 30-day holding period. So that's super big. So like I said, like something breaks the day after, call me. We'll get it repaired, replaced. 2, we have no dollar limit on HVAC. I think that's the biggest thing. Like I tell my clients all the time, like if you're gonna get a home warranty, don't put like a $25 like pest control or something on there, right? Like I don't even sell that stuff because at the end of the day, like home warranty is to protect the major stuff in your house, like the big item stuff. And HVAC is the most expensive. And we have the best HVAC coverage. So no dollar limit on HVAC. So that covers the cost of installation, the labor, and that covers the parts and so like the system. So I've personally seen us replace like $7,000 systems here in Charlotte. Most other companies are going to cap your clients out $3,500 to $5,000. So that's a really, really, really big piece of it. We don't do that. Also, it doesn't matter the age of system. So I've seen us like replace a 20-year-old HVAC system on its last leg. Literally, as long as it's still working at closing, we will cover it. It also doesn't matter how many systems your clients have in the house. That's a big piece of it. So if there's 3 water heaters, we cover all 3 water heaters. If there's 3 HVAC systems, we cover all 3 systems. There's 2 kitchens, we cover the appliances and all the kitchens. Only caveat is kitchen refrigerator. If there's more than 1 refrigerator, we have to add additional refrigeration. Outside of that, it doesn't matter. We cover all of them. You know how my little paper here, like now my little thoughts are like, what do I want to talk about next? And then so the next thing is water heater. So like rusty water heaters. This is probably if you've had a bad experience, those rusty water heaters are a big piece of it. Most companies will automatically deny claims if the water heater shows any sort of sign of rust or erosion. They automatically deny claims. We cover like pre-existing unknown conditions, which like most people aren't going outside and like, let me see if this old water heater got some rust on it. So we cover that. Last thing I like to talk about, does anybody have a pen? Can I borrow your pen? I usually have a little clicker one, but so like what also like this here is a really big thing. So non-obsolete parts clause. I'm getting here. Non-obsolete parts clause is a big one. So most home warranty companies, what they do, let's say that your clients have a refrigerator, and let's say that like this piece here, so the little end piece here, what makes this right. Let's say this is the condensing unit. So like without this end piece here, this pin is no good. It's cute, right? But it's no good. It's not gonna work. So most other home warranty companies, let's say that this pin here is the kitchen refrigerator, small, so we'll say a mini fridge, and the condensing unit goes out and they can't find it because it's an old refrigerator. Most other home warranty companies are going to say, okay, well, we'll give you the $100 or $200 for this condensing unit, and your clients can go and try to find it themselves and get it replaced, or they got to buy a new refrigerator. So they get $200 back, and they got to go spend the other $8 or however much it is on their refrigerator. With us, we don't have a non-obsolete parts clause. This saves so much money. So if we ever cannot find a part because it's obsolete and that part makes the system function, we automatically replace the entire appliance, our system. So that's a really big piece of it. So instead of your clients getting back a couple $100, they'll automatically get a brand new system. So that goes for like HVAC and Freon. We see that all the time where there's like a lot of different, like R22 Freon is considered obsolete. So sometimes we can't find it. So what a lot of other home warranty companies will do is they'll say, well, that's an obsolete part. We'll give you the cost per pound of the Freon, which is like a few $100, maybe $500-$600 and then your clients are stuck having to replace that entire condensing unit or whatever it is, right? Which it sucks. I'm honest, it does. And a lot of home warranty companies do that kind of stuff. But we don't. So we automatically replace the entire appliance or system. So that is a really, really big piece of it. And that's why I don't get a lot of those bad calls, because we got a lot of the little stuff in there. Like we covered a little nitty gritty stuff that like a lot of other home warranty companies nickel and dime me about. And then my phone blows up because it wasn't covered. But I get to do a lot of these presentations because we're pretty good at that stuff. And then last thing, anybody in here leveraging listing coverage for home warranty, like home warranty listing coverage? It is a big one. Yeah. And I'm talking about this a lot more now because listings are sitting a little bit longer. And this is a really, really big one. In the last month, like, and I'm not just throwing a number out here, I would say like upwards of $10,000. We've saved clients who have like HVAC issues while they're on the market. Especially because it's so hot. People are like cutting that system on one day and it's just flat out not working. And so we're seeing that a lot. I just, for like one of my clients, one of my teams, they're probably like my biggest team. They use me for everything. They call me, she calls me, she's like, hey Martinez, it's a Thursday. She's like, we're supposed to close tomorrow. My client just called me, said she walked in the house, the HVAC was not working. Listing coverage is free. It's literally free. It costs your clients nothing to use home warranty listing coverage. It's $70 if you add the HVAC portion of it, but it's also free technically because if you don't pass it to the buyers, just call me. I'm going to cancel the coverage. You're not going to pay anything for it. So it's completely free. You use it if you need it, right? If you need it, pass it to the buyers. If you don't, call me, cancel it, right? You can even send me an email or a text. It won't take any time. But this situation here, long story short, she calls me that Thursday. They're supposed to close that Friday. It's not working. She called her own company out. I think he said it was going to be $3,500 to replace the condenser or compressor. I don't want to lie. It was one of the two. Condenser or the compressor is going to be $3,500. Called me. She's like, Martinez, she forgot we had the home warranty on there. Can you send somebody out? Once again, me being honest and transparent, it took like, for the entire process, it did take like 7 or 8 days, right? Once again, I'm not going to lie to you. They did have to push the closing, but it saved the client $3,500. She paid $100 for the service fee, and we replaced the entire compressor, condenser, whichever one of it was. We replaced it. She paid $100. Her client was as happy as she could be. And that's just like one story. Like we've had other ones where they need Freon, that sort of stuff, which can be like $800-$900. It's free. So if you do have a listing, it doesn't matter if it's been on the market for a day, a month, 2 months. We can add the listing coverage. It's free. If you pass it on to the buyers, it's paid for at closing. So it's a beautiful thing to utilize. Any questions or anything that I can get answered for you guys? It means I did a great job. Lovely. Yeah. For sure. I definitely would leverage it. And I'm trying to think. Oh, last thing I will tell you is this. I know I said a lot of really good stuff. I know I'm in a pose, Mandy. But I know I said a lot of great stuff. I do want to caveat one thing because I wouldn't feel right if I didn't tell you this piece of it. Never sell your buyers our basic plan. Because like a lot of that stuff is included in our first class upgrades I talked about. Always sell that. It's $100 more. So it's like if you went with basic first class upgrades, $635 for a year. And it's what covers like improper installations, code upgrades, modifications. If you've ever had a bad home warranty experience, I bet it falls under one of those three things. So make sure you have that on there. It literally opens up a door to make sure your clients have the best coverage. So if you sell basic coverage and you come back and say we didn't cover something, don't blame me because I threw the hand there. Basic is $535 for single family home, $490 for townhome, condo, mobile home. $800 is our $840. See, y'all are like really putting me to. I got no brochure or nothing up here. I'm like, make sure I'm on it. No, so like usually I'll bring the lunch in and I'll sneak out the door and grab everything else. You threw me up here. I was like, all right, let's jump into this thing. But no, it's $840. The biggest difference between like our three plans: basic, don't sell to your buyers, only for sellers coverage. Eagle Premier, honestly, really good coverage, covers everything that you need. Third plan is Max Plan. Big difference is an additional $1,250 for any out-of-pocket costs. So it is a big one. So like if you're selling a home with like HVAC, water heater, you know it's on this last leg, like you might not want to tell the clients, but like everybody knows like, oh, this is on this last leg. Go ahead and add the Coles Mods more upgrade to that last plan, because realistically, like on an HVAC repair, we're going to cover probably just rough number, like 90% of the cost. All right. Once again, I'm transparent. I'm not going to tell you you're going to get a full HVAC replacement, pay nothing. All right. We're going to cover like 90% of the cost. So like realistically, your clients may be looking at like $1,500 to $2,500 out of pocket. If it's like a super nice, bigger system, maybe $3,000 out of pocket. If it's like a total $9,000 system. But with the Max Plan, it's going to come out at $1,250. So if it's $2,000 out of pocket, they got the Max Plan. $1,250 is going to come out of that. So it's $750 left. Look at my math. I'm on it today. But yeah, so it does make a difference. So you're paying $140 up front extra. You get $1,250 back in return. Yeah, you need a little extra love, and yeah, you know, the inspection report wasn't the prettiest. You might want to go ahead and get that Max Plan. But yeah, I appreciate you. I bought some moles in too, so I hope y'all enjoy a nice little taco bar.
And we'll email you
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. Y'all have a good one as well.
Thank you. Sorry
Thank you,
to
Ellen.
up there.
Okay, everybody, we're going to sign off here. We're going to eat because Martinez brought us some delicious lunch. Wish you guys were here. We'll see you next time. Bye.